Hi, Brittany.
Hi, Cassie.
Hey, Snarkers. Welcome back to the Snarking Line. Brittany, how you doing today? We
It's a
we got so
day.
much to talk
We got
about.
through it.
We
We
got
had a good
so much to
pre
talk about.
we had a good pre-pod prep session.
Yeah, friends, we just literally prepped, and so the beaming and the tears in the corner of our eyes reflect where we just came from. So, Brittany, we have to talk a little bit first. We just got to give a little appreciation shout out to our snarkers because the snarking base is growing. The snarking feedback is crazy.
Ooh, jump scare ASMR for all of our
Brittany
audio
likes it when
listeners.
I lean into the mic, friends.
A lot of people just shuddered on their dog walks.
They did. They did. Shout out. Shout out
Yes,
to you,
shout
dog walker. You know who you are. We know you'll be
out.
listening to this. Brittany, what are your thoughts so far on the feedback we've received since Epi 1 dropped?
A little bit surprised, honored, hashtag blessed.
Nice. Hashtag
Just
blessed. I
yeah,
like it.
was not expecting that. I think it's great. I'm like, man, if we got that off of one episode, think of all the stuff we really get going here. Really find our traction.
Think about all the potential.
God, there's so
Oh,
much.
potential. There's so much potential. We are honestly hashtag blessed, very grateful. This is fun. Someone who shot me some feedback in a text, today was like, is this what this beautiful person refers to as life giving for you? 100%. This is just fun at this point. And if it so happens to bring us money at some point in the future for some odd reason, great. But we're just having a good time. And we hope you're having a good time too, right?
I'm just pausing for the reel of all the different ad-based things we're looking for here, monetizations. We'll just let you scroll through what we're hoping for. Hmm.
Good pausing. Good
Hmm.
pausing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definite future potential, Brittany, as we noted in our preppy prep stories
Listen,
from our childhood that there's restaurants, gas stations, recording artists who could fit into this mix, right?
yeah. Just hoping, Twitter me stays silent so I don't firebomb it all.
Yeah, you got to be careful about that. If you want this to fund the life we deserve, you gotta take Twitter Brittany down a couple notches.
Yeah. Can't be too spicy.
Can't be too
Hmm.
spicy. Just enough.
It'd be a one.
Gotta
If we
be a
were, if we were in a Thai restaurant, this would be a one.
this would be a one. I'm now picturing myself in the Woodman's shout out pause Woodman's um the Woodman's stir fry sauce section where I'm looking at the number of chili peppers on the side of the bottle to try to decide is this for 75% Swiss me or is this for brave me when I'm choosing sauces? You know?
Speaking of
Really
Woodman's,
though.
I mean, is there a section that is not Taj Mahal worthy in that store?
I love a good cheese section.
Oh,
Cheese section.
that's Wisconsin ASMR right there.
Just say cheese into the mic real
Travel
close.
Wisconsin. Gonna be another sponsor at some point here.
I know, right? Well, we've promised the mental health check. You know this. Let's start
Yeah,
with you. How's your mental health today?
it's okay. It's heavy watching things going on in the world, but we're okay. It's a day. How about you?
Today. That's fair about watching things going on in the world. I hear you. I'm okay. Last time we did this, I was like, but it's a little better than that. I wrapped up a pretty solid work week, and then I'm going to be off for 2 days. A little mental reprieve from the grind. Not that the work is bad, but you know how you get into that flow and it's like you gotta just take a little breather. So the breather's happening, and I'm looking forward to the breather.
Breathers are important.
You know? So it's okay.
Rest is
It's okay.
good.
I'm gonna go for a run tomorrow
Good.
morning.
Well, and I think you're just being sustained again at this point by all the awesome feedback we've gotten in this podcast. So
I like to use the term that my dear friend used. It's life-giving to get the feedback where people actually think it's nice to listen to. It's hysterical. Honestly, as
it
you're
is.
noting, it's hysterical. What? Come on, people. This is really just for us, and we're pretending like it's for you. Just kidding. But kind of, but not really.
How cereal started out,
You know,
allegedly. All the big ones do that.
we come into this episode planning for it to be called Late Blooming Onions. Okay. So a pun on the
Pause for
bloom.
Outback. Pause for Outback sponsorship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Greatest
Very much
export.
so.
Oh my God. The greatest export Australia ever gave us, besides not their prisoners that we sent them, is the bloomin' onion.
I have not had a blooming onion in so long. So good though.
I've never had one.
You've never had a
I've been to Outback and I've never had one. Late bloomer. Look at that.
This is so fitting. This is so ironically fitting. Whoa. They're so good. They're so good. I mean, can you go wrong with fried food? No, but
Well, you're talking to the person who used to dissect their onion rings at Culver's so I could just eat the fried batter and not the actual onion. So I think I, as an adult now, I like onions. So I think I need to change this.
I think you do. I do. I really firmly believe you need to have a deep fried bloomin' onion.
Oh,
Stat,
good. Good.
to
We just
use a
found
term that
gold.
you're familiar with in your work. Stat,
Yeah. Hmm.
stat. Okay. So, in the spirit of late blooming onions, blooming has those connotations, right? Has all the connotations with it. Last episode, we gave you the rundown, as we like to call it, on how we became friends and a little bit of how we became who we are. But late blooming onions is what's it like coming of age as a millennial? Late 90s, early 2000s, especially as geeks. Hmm?
Just, I don't know if anybody's aware of the show Pen 15 out there on
Oh,
Hulu.
Pen 15.
Pause for sponsorship.
Hulu. Hear me,
If
Hulu?
you are not,
Pen
yeah, there we
15.
go. Pen 15, for people who are not aware,
Yeah,
is a
explain
show.
it.
It's two characters who are millennial aged, and it's them going back and playing the show as if they were coming of age as millennials. So back, think like, what would you say, late 90s, early 2000s
Early
in
2000s,
there.
yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
they play themselves in the show. Like they play themselves supposed to be as middle schoolers, even though they're in their, the actresses are in their 20s, late 20s, early 30s. But then everybody around them, the rest of the cast around them, like at school, for example, are actually kids who you could feasibly think would be like middle schoolers, for example.
Yeah, definitely tweens and teens.
It is, if you want to be sucked into your screen like a twister of nostalgia, Pen 15 is the place for you. It is all of the memories of all the things that people in our generation would have done coming of age. I mean, we're talking diaries, we're talking jelly slipper sandal things that, just cut your feet to hell.
Butterfly clips.
Butterfly clips, everything basically, if you go into a store now and you see it coming back, or if you see the trends coming back, like Gen X or
Mhm.
whatever, it's just not Gen X or Gen X, Gen Z or whatever, are just discovering it and thinking that, scrunchies, oh my God, who invited this? Like, what is going on? It's in Pen 15.
It's so like it is us in a show living out middle school to early high school. Like it is us. It's the perfect timing. It's the right age. It is like literally like we were born in the late 80s, they were born in the late 80s. They're doing it. They're living it out. Everything from like getting ready for school dances. It like all the clothes, the like and this is we'll get into this. This was not me, but the boy craziness, right? But seeing
Yeah.
other kids around them who were different versions of all the things and all the personalities, it's like perfect. It's chef's kiss perfect if you are our age.
Yes. Everybody's going through puberty at different times. Everybody, like you said, all the like kind of life moments in school, like the school dances,
Mm,
life back before everybody had the smartphones, or like how you would communicate with each other, the messengers and the chats, and just it's oof.
like a corded phone, they're doing prank phone calls on
Yeah.
a corded phone.
Yep.
Think about that,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, you know those headband thingies? Did we talk about this? Those headband thingies that were like stretchy, but they were like a comb that run around your whole head.
I
Those.
don't I tried. I'm not a good enough person. I tried.
Mm,
Props to the people who can pull those off, like props to you. They were the Adidas sandals of your head. And that, again, millennial reference, those Adidas slip-on sandals. It's like, do you want to walk on a hedgehog until you wear those in and all those to be, post
I
basketball
still
game?
had mine, my black and white
Hell,
Adidas,
hell yeah.
little with the little pokey things.
Little knobs. Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you for that.
Oh,
Right? Whoa. Yeah, this is a shout out to Hulu on that show and those two actresses. Love them.
yeah.
Quite honestly, they look a little bit like us at that time, if we're also being a little bit honest. They have a twinge of Cassie and Brittany, which like adds to the whole like they're best friends and they're doing all the things and they just kind of look like us a little bit. Just a little bit.
Two words. Bowl cut.
Bowl cut. At some episode, friends, in the YouTube shot of this of end future episode will be Brittany's bowl cut.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it will be my French braid that goes down just above my butt. That will be what you see for me. Yeah. Yeah, picture that. Mm-hmm. Sear that into your mind. Sear a bowl cut and a butt long French braid into your mind.
The bowl cut and Rapunzel went to school together.
Yeah. So you'll notice if you're watching this episode, so we'll have to say it if you're not, our little names on our recording here are changed for this episode. Brittany, the Burmeister, and Cassie, the casserole. So nicknames that we earned. Mine due to my name, and one of my good friends throughout school's name lent itself to being a good tater tot. So we were tater tot and casserole. So again, a friend who is not Brittany, but a good friend nonetheless. How did
Yeah,
you get
spoiler alert.
Burmeister, Brittany?
Spoiler alert, Cassie had friends other than myself.
Yeah,
So
spoiler alert,
spoiler
shocker. Oh,
alert. Mine is Burmeister. I did not get it at school. I think everybody listening to this is gonna be like, what in the hell? I didn't really have a nickname in school. I mean, some people shorten it to Brit once in a while,
yeah.
but Burmeister is what my dad always called me. I have no idea where it comes from.
Or
I
why?
think it's
Okay.
just a random thing. You know how like you give pets like 17 weird names that in no way correlate to what their actual name is?
I do know what that's like, yes.
I think that's this case. So I'm like the family cat in that respect.
My father called you Brit Brat quite frequently,
See, everybody's parents and everybody else not at school had the nicknames.
right? I know.
Yeah,
There's just a
yeah,
lot. There's a lot
yeah.
there.
See?
Brittany, thank you for bringing up Pen 15 because Pen 15 number one is amazing, but it is also the springboard to like thinking about puberty. A lot of the whole like growing and doing you do when you're that age, boy or girl or anything else. But for us being young women, that's what it's about for us. So do you remember, because this is a big thing, the period starting with the characters is a big thing in a few episodes. Remember? So do you remember? Who doesn't remember your first period story?
Yeah, I do.
Do you? Do you?
I
Do you
do.
want to share? I'll share mine. I don't care.
Yeah, I'll share it. There's really not a whole hell of a lot to it.
There's not a whole hell of a lot to it. It happened. Bye.
You know, the upside of like growing tall first before you mature means that you have had a modicum of like some education about it just from like friends going through it already, that you're like, in that sense, I was a late bloomer. So I guess in that sense, I am lucky. Like, I think if it had happened earlier, I'd have been like, what's going on? But I guess I'm lucky in the sense I knew what was happening when it happened. But it was actually freshman year of high school. It was September. Every other year, every 2 years in our part of the state, Southwest Wisconsin, there is a thing called Cheese Days, held in a nearby town called Monroe. And everyone's like, hell yeah, I already got my tickets for this year. Um,
And my heart
so
palpitates when anyone says cheese days, so that's why
it,
I'm laughing.
it's
Anyway,
chef's kiss. So yes, it happens every couple years in a town near us. Like it's a very well-known thing in Wisconsin, actually kind of in the Midwest. I think it's a very, very
for
well-known
sure.
event. Just picture like if you just did Wisconsin in a smaller town for several days on end. It is just cheese on cheese on cheese on cheese on cheese.
It is. It's delightful.
Um, I would go there a lot for 4-H for stuff. Like there was always like a dairy, like all kinds of stuff, dairy, cheese, everything. And so there was always a parade one of the days there. And so all of the area high schools would come and march. If you were in band, you would do marching band in the parade. So I remember it is,
Marching band and period
oh,
Alliance.
it's
Is that what you're
everything
trying
is
to say to
coming
me
back.
right now?
Everything is coming back to band. I
Wow.
see.
Comes
This is going to make everybody happy here. This is a segment of our
everything comes
listeners.
back to band.
That's that'll be an episode title at some point.
It will.
So yeah, I was, we took a bus down to it's you
Yep.
like met at the high school. So it's basically, I didn't have a car yet. I was too young. So I
Yep.
like get ready to go into town. My parents were gonna drop me off. And so I like go up to use the bathroom first before I leave and like use the bathroom. And I was like, what? I am injured. And then I'm like, oh, no, I'm not. It's that. Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm
Um,
injured. Another
I'm
great quote.
injured. And I believe like because I think I had like a little set of like some liners in my closet at some point. Like my mom had got me because we didn't know when it was going to happen. It was going to happen
Right.
at some point. So I guess in the scheme of things, it could have been a lot worse, or as far as like being more embarrassing or being more obvious or whatever. But I think they were like little liners, but I knew I was going to be gone for the whole afternoon and marching and whatnot. And I actually like had run into my parents' room into their closet because that's where my mom's stuff was. And then I was like, oh yeah, hysterectomy. She kind of got rid of everything. And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh man. And so like
That
there were never
sucks.
none of the heavier things. So I was like, I don't want to have to. Oh, so I did the the thing I knew I shouldn't have done, and I did the whole wrap the toilet paper around the underwear and just went on my merry way, didn't say anything, went on my merry way. Everything went fine. And then when I got home, I was like, oh, hey, gonna go need some stuff. And what was also
Yep.
killed me because in Monroe, which is the town where Cheese Days is like there are bigger grocery stores and Walmart and that would have the stuff. And I'm like, man, I'm across town. And because I took a bus here, like I can't just go,
Can't
can't be
just
like,
go
hey, can you
get
go
what I
to the store?
need. Yeah.
No, no. So I was like, oh, whatever. But
Lovely.
it wore black pants, like it wasn't heavy. It didn't, there was
Yeah.
nothing to it. So
That's
yeah, it was
good.
just kind of oh, okay. So I will, yeah, forever kind of in the back of my mind associate cheese days with becoming not more of a bloomin' onion.
Blue and onion. We really want those sponsorships at some
No,
point.
we're up here for this. Oh,
Oh, so much Outback. Ugh. Um, Hilarious. I associate cheese days with something else entirely, but that's separate.
to be fair, I think there is a very small cohort of us who associate cheese days with the Crimson Peak. So might
Yeah.
be an N of one. It might just be me. So to be fair,
Here's a
you are probably the more.
here's a quick teaser though. Um, Morbid dehydration, and I'll come back to that.
Yeah,
Um,
I yeah.
Morbidly dangerous dehydration. Anyway, um,
Different cheese
yeah,
days the
so
next time.
obviously we're in different grades, but Me also, freshman year of high school. Another late blooming onion, hence the name of the episode. Freshman year of high school. Yep.
Is it because of the trio then?
It all comes back to band. Just kidding.
See? It was the trio. It was you being put with two eighth graders. Made your
It's the
uterus shed
thing.
itself.
Yeah. Yeah. My uterus is like, what? Uh, yeah, I was at high school basketball practice. Warm-ups. Okay. My house, very close to the high school. So I'm in warm-ups and I'm like, something's happening. What's up? Practice didn't technically start till what, like 3:40 or something, so it was probably like 3:32 as I'm doing a layup and I'm like, something's happening. And I'm like,
Can we get
well,
hold on? Can we get a playback in Spirit of Sports? What was that
I'm
like?
like doing a layup and I'm like, something's happening. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for
Could be
making
my
me do that
period
again.
or hernia. What are we gonna
Huh?
do?
Yeah, I'm either injured or something's happening, as you would say. I'm injured. Yeah, so I was like, well, I got time. I'm literally going to run home. So I'm like jogging down the hall, go to my house, I'm like, hey mom. My mom was there. Hey mom, I just got my period and I have to go back to practice. So can you help me find some stuff? We had some stuff in the bathroom. And she's like, "Well, you probably really don't have time to like learn how to use a tampon, right?" I'm like, "Not really, but I'd probably like to figure it out because I don't really want to practice in a pad." So I kind of just figured it out the best I could. And she told me she'd explain better how to do it later, a different time. But I had to just like, so I'm just like, all right, tampon it is. Hopefully it works. And again, like probably like black gym shorts, so whatever. And just went back to practice, practiced, I went back home and then got a little sesh from mom, just like talking through some deets, little advice, and that was it. But we didn't talk a lot about or at all about puberty things, preparing for anything. So it was just kind of like, "Boop, here it is." And like you, because I was old enough, I like understood what was happening. It wasn't
Yeah.
like a blind side, like a complete surprise. Wasn't like, oh, I mean, I was surprised that it happened, but I wasn't surprised, like, what is this? So, we got past it.
I mean, yeah, in your case, you became a woman and then you went and handled balls for practice
We
for
did.
hours. So
Yep. hmm
yeah.
Yes, Brittany. I became a woman and I went back and played with
Well,
boys.
hey, I
Okay.
became one and went and blew on an instrument for a couple hours. So really,
Okay, because you brought, I gotta. So cheese days. Come on. I'm the majorette, so I'm conducting the band, and it's morbidly hot. Like it's like 90 humid. We're in the felt clothes, band clothes. I mean, I was in a skirt, but it was still like heavy for being majorette outfit. It was hot, and everyone was getting water because it's a 4 mile long band route.
oh yeah,
Parade route.
this is not just run, march down your little main street in town and be, like homecoming was, like, be done in like 5 minutes. No, no, this is significant.
This is a long parade route, and it's hot, and everyone else is getting water, and everyone just because I'm at the front, everyone just kind of forgets to give me sips of water. So I'm like getting more and more dehydrated, and I work in Monroe. So I stupidly had a shift at Pizza Hut right after cheese days. So I think I'm fine. I go to work, I clock in, I start answering the phones. Hey, do you want the special today? Two mediums and a thing of breadsticks? And then I almost pass out at the counter as I'm like taking Pizza Hut orders. So, like, I'm like dizzy. I can barely see straight. I'm like, Jeff, my manager, I'm like, I gotta go home. So, my parents had left my car at facility and so I drove myself home, which probably wasn't a good idea because I was really like about to pass out. But then I got home and drank like a gallon of water and slept, and then eventually was fine.
I mean, selfishly, first off, we're at least going for like a Dasani sponsorship here, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, but
I know we
there's
can
a
do better than
standard for the
toilet
best
water.
water. Maybe Evian,
Well, no,
but
I know we can do better. I was gonna, well, shit, I didn't say Aquafina. My God. Um, I know we can do better than toilet water, but at minimum, we're going for a water sponsorship too. Bring on the agua.
liquid IV.
Yeah, I can distinctly remember that because I was also up at the front and I just remember like at one point when we weren't playing and just
Uh,
marching, actually like seeing you kind of ahead of me and going, oh, that's the tomato Swiss coming out. Because my mom is the same thing. Like that's the whoop, getting
mm,
hotter, getting wetter. Uh-oh.
so hot. It was
It
so hot.
it
It was
was
so
you it
burning hot.
yeah,
It was
that was
bad.
rough.
It was really bad. It
It
was
was
really,
rough.
I was heat sick. Like I had legitimate heat sickness when
Yeah.
I got home. It was bad, but I recovered. I recovered. Your majorette recovered. All comes back to band.
Jeez.
All the stories, they all come back to band. Maybe that's the story. Maybe that's the point of this podcast is everything comes back to band. Shout out to anyone who's been involved in our band journey who's listening to this, either as fellow musicians, perhaps maybe our director, perhaps other
Yes.
people who are in the family of our director who we love very much. We hope you listen at some point. You may enjoy our stories. Okay, Brittany, I read an article, speaking of periods, I read an article that talked scientifically about periods starting earlier. Can you imagine? Like they reference, I think, an 8 or 9 year old. Could you imagine being in third grade and getting your period?
No, well, and that's what I think about. Like we all had I think sex ed was in fifth and then a little bit more in sixth. And so that's what before when I said, we were both late bloomers, like we at least had the advantage of having gone through that. And then a lot of our friends had
Mm,
already started, so we heard about the practical side of it or kind of what to expect. But, I'm sure there were people in our class and have even back then or haven't who maybe had experienced it before any of the sex ed stuff. And,
yes.
then they learned all about it. But now I don't know what age they start teaching them nowadays in elementary school. So I don't know if it's had to be earlier because of the fact girls are having their periods earlier and earlier, and kids are hitting puberty earlier and earlier, or if it's still in that fifth and sixth grade area, and just half your class has gone through it already. But no, I cannot imagine Mrs. Kundert's class, me in third grade. I cannot imagine any point in that year like being prepared
Uh-uh. I know.
um
Me either. Me
for it.
either.
Like, no, no.
I
No.
have said, and this is not out of, but Pen 15 also makes me think about it. It's just anecdotally easy to note young women like developing earlier. Like what you and I look like when we were freshmen in high school versus what freshmen in high school at times now like look like in terms of their development is crazy different. And this
Yeah.
article was talking about potential reasons for that too, between diet and weight differences and like a variety of things. But I don't know if you've encountered that in your, I know like you've worked in, you know, you work in health realms and also, youth health realms. Like, do you have any thoughts or additional insights? Because that article, despite being short, kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think they're starting to do a lot of research on just, endocrine disruptors in your environment or the things around you, like in the plastics and different things
Oh,
and,
wow. Yeah.
and air and just all the materials around us and like how they think that has affected people. And because it's in higher concentrations or because we're starting to see the effects, it's now leading to things happening earlier again, where you've got girls, you know, hell fresh out of kindergarten getting their periods, like
Yeah.
how fast it's gone, like I know, people mature faster nowadays than they did, several hundred years ago. We're taller, all that stuff. So like, but usually it takes a while, but to have that quick of a jump, yeah, I think, yeah, again, stuff in the food, um, dietary reasons, environmental reasons, yeah, there is a lot of, because I think a growing body of research out there about things like endocrine disruptors and yeah, how it affects estrogen and, too much or too little. There's a lot of people out there with polycystic ovarian syndrome and different
Mm. Mm-hmm.
things and different issues around hormones that again even millennials are finding out or have found out and it affects people throughout their lives. Kind of at our age it's probably comes up most if people are trying to get pregnant. That's
Right.
when some of those issues come up, but then you've got issues in menopause and later, so it's always an issue. Nothing, hormones can never just be, but
Can never just be.
I look at that and having read up on some of that stuff, it is kind of weird because it's like what's the line? At what point what are we having to do, like having like tampons available in preschools? Like what is the line? Where does that stop?
Right?
And
Isn't
I
that
don't
interesting? And you're right. Like the quick jump, even like of what we notice, how
Mhm.
quick is it going to continue to jump? Like, is it
Yeah.
quicker due to all of so interesting on environmental factors? Read nothing about this, but something I've thought about. And again, it's based on an anecdote. So it's part based on something funny related to Pen 15, which is Razor phones, Razor cell phones. We each had a Razor at some point in our lives.
They're
Motorola.
back. They're smartphones, but they're back.
Motorola, baby. Sponsorship. Um, but I noticed, so I wonder about the effect of use of cell phones
Hmm.
a lot, like the close to your face so much, being on it so much, so close to your body all the time, sleeping with your phone, those kinds of things. Something that happened with me, like when I was, so Brittany knows, um, my mom was pretty sick for a variety of reasons from 2014 until she passed away in 2017. So I was on the phone a lot with her, like, daily phone calls or like sometimes on the way to and from work would be talking to my cell phone. I honestly noticed the ear, because this was before I had it like interfaced with my phone, my right ear where I always held it, like would start to hurt. And then like when I started to use the phone less, it was less. And so it just piqued my interest in like, I'm joking now, but like, am I going to get brain cancer at some point in my life? Because I like was on my cell phone so much, but it makes you wonder, you know?
Yeah, there is. I mean, again, when unfortunately this is like we're we're kind of the test dummies for this,
Right.
unfortunately. Many things, or every generation's kind of got the thing where, well, you're gonna be the ones where we find out if it was a problem or not. And that's I think gonna be ours, because there is some literature out there about it, like that they emit, you know, radiation and different things. And like, yeah, if you hold it to
Yeah.
your body, like does it, if you hold it in your pocket,
Yeah.
does it decrease sperm count? If you have it like by your head all the time, what does it do? What is it emitting? Or, I've tried to
Right.
do a, conscious effort of, I rarely, talk on the phone anymore. It's usually like I have it on speaker near me. Again, it's still near me. So whatever, I'm,
Mm-hmm.
holding it a lot. So I don't know if it's
Yeah.
really cutting down on it, but I try not to have it right up by my ear anymore.
Yeah.
But,
Same.
I can, but then again, there's other people like they have to, for their jobs or for whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
so they have to have it by them. So I know it's interesting. I'm like, well, it 100% could be, a factor. And
Technology things too that we didn't have that like everyone has now so much more like
yeah,
different wristwatches for like Fitbits and all that. Shout out Fitbits, Apple Watches. I'm joking, but all those different
shout out to
technologies.
health. Shout out to health.
Shout out to the health realm. Um, but all
Carry
those
it.
things, they talk about like that being on your wrist, and like emitting the things to take your pulse and all of that. Like, what's that doing? To me, that's like, is that just like a cell phone sitting on your wrist, right? You know, not the same as a cell phone, as I would argue it's better. It's not by your ear, but
Right, but
you
it's
know,
by, it's on your body. Your skin is a giant,
yeah.
porous entity. It's the largest organ. So, whatever's on there it's going right through,
Hmm.
and you have veins and things in there. So I know my watch, I have a Garmin sponsor.
Shout
Potential.
out.
Shout out to healthy fitness. I have a Garmin
Yeah.
and I don't use it. Like I use it is a GPS watch, so I'll use it, for running or whatnot, but I don't usually have it hooked up to Bluetooth to my phone because it just annoys me to get the notifications on there because I can't respond anyway. So I don't like it
Yeah.
on there. But I don't have it connected to a heart rate monitor, but if I upload onto an app, onto like the Garmin app, for instance, it'll still kind of read, I'm sure it's taking my pulse somehow, or it still counts like my steps or my movements for steps and stuff. Like it's still doing it. So I'm like, it's definitely a higher powered battery and whatnot on there. So who knows down the road, but I might actually be doing me a service.
Maybe, maybe.
But I'm just gonna chop my hand off and become the Winter Soldier. So just that Bucky technology.
Speaking of chopping hands off, kidding, but
Ooh,
only kind of. I was explaining the Saw movie series to someone who had never watched Saw before. So that's what made me think of it. Squirrel. Um, anyway, horror movies, movies and TV, a
it's
future
you're like it's like
episode.
a, it's like a crime podcast, but you watch it.
Yeah, like one of those really dark and twisty ones about like a crazy,
Yeah.
crazy, crazy person who just had done just like years worth of terrible things, but you watch it and it's fiction instead of fact. Oh,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a classic series. Say chop your hand off. That's what I think of. I think of Saw. He's on
There
the
you
right
go.
age to have started watching Saw in the early 2000s. Okay?
Well, I mean that were the lot of the big franchises, Scream, which then gave way to the Scary Movie franchise, with all the different
Yes.
the parody of all the scary movies and making fun of the things. Which now there's a commercial. I don't remember what it's for, but it's these people outside and they're like, should we choose this thing that's safe or should we go in the dark garage? It's got all the chainsaws hanging down for everything.
Oh, that's
And
a
just
great commercial. I know exactly what you think.
yes, I forget what it is. I'm sorry, not good with
Yeah, it
sponsorship.
doesn't
But
matter. The visuals there.
yes, but like the decisions and just how you watch those movies and you're like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. You should have gone over there. Don't talk during the quiet thing. Don't go into the dark forest. What do you think is out there?
I think it's gonna happen.
It's 100% targeted those of us who grew up with the all the different scary
Right?
movie or kind of frightful movie franchises.
And Blair Witch Project,
Yes,
like for like the hand camera like action, and
yes,
the running and that classic visual of the scared face, right? Ah,
yes,
there's so much there. Week 10,
yes,
future episode. We got a
absolutely.
lot to unpack there. Teaser. Teaser. All we're doing in this episode is seeking sponsorships and teasing future episodes. Just kidding.
Well, everyone's turned it off by now, so who cares?
Yeah,
Yeah.
listen at will. Listen to what you
Right.
want. Um, Obviously, Pen 15 is a great show that is telling a story about millennials. Okay. I think you and I, from our many of video chat conversations that are now turning into a podcast, think that there are traits of millennials that are just fact based in context that we've lived, right? In a particular way.
Yep.
And we say elder millennials for a reason, I think too, because there's that wide range of millennials. My younger brother, your youngest brother, for example, is still a millennial, but I think there's differences between millennials who were what, 7 when things like 9/11 happened versus us being 13 or 14 when 9/11 happened, those kinds of things. So I'm wondering your thoughts on stereotyping the generations because I've read some articles that are like stereotyping people like that by their age is bad, like generationally. And then other people are like, but it's rooted in historical context that only we've lived. So what's your hot take on stereotyping?
I mean, threat level 3 spice. It's just boomers upset at being called boomers.
Ooh, ooh, she snarked it out in the lot there. All right.
We are not getting denture cleaning sponsorships, I don't think.
I don't think we are either. I think we're safe. I don't think we've offended anybody.
Target audience here. I mean, I think every generation, gets shit on by the one before it and then shits on the one after it, and thinks they all have
Yes.
it the worst and whatnot. But also, I think, like you said, there are very defining historical moments we can all think back to, and every generation's got them. A lot of them usually revolve around something horrific, you know, war, terrorist attack, financial crash, uh, you know, mass shooting, whatever, there's different things. But everybody everybody kind of goes through it. And again, each generation too, because it's that same span of years, there are older boomers versus younger. And so when they went through stuff, in the 50s or 60s, like how things impacted you if you were in your teens versus like 8 or 9, probably a little bit different.
Different.
Same thing with Gen X, like you said, millennials, Gen Z. Um, I, I think it's not necessarily stereotyping, but it's also understanding where the generations came from. Like, for example, those of us who maybe
Yeah,
grew up like being older ones, we are kind of the last ones before technology just completely takes over. The
we
internet
are.
is starting to
We're in
ramp
that
up.
transition period of technology
Yes.
for sure. Yeah.
We went from, people started to have cell phones, then to everyone's got the smartphone. But now, like I remember going back to a high school basketball game many years ago, and I'm like, oh my God, the elementary school kids have a better smartphone than I do, like a higher, like I've got an older
Yeah.
one than they do, these kids. And I'm like, I could have never imagined at that age having one, but I'm like, that's just how it is now. And just the
It is.
differences, different things, and like what they have access to that like we didn't have access to when we were
Yep.
kids, that like Gen X didn't have access to, like how it does it. So I I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think there's an issue. Maybe there is some stereotyping, but it's more again rooted in what your experiences were and how that kind of defines or reflects your worldview for what's coming on or what's going on and going forward. What do you think?
I think your analysis, I mean, hey, we're doing this podcast. We agree on a lot of stuff. Of course. I think you're
Came for
right.
division. This is you should go. I have a few other podcasts you could go to.
Yeah. If you want two delusions to align, come to this podcast. The article I read, I'm probably not paraphrasing it too well. Like it was by Pew Research of all places, and they were saying they were trying to make an argument in some cases that like depending on how you stereotype the generations, like that some of that are rooted in class differences, which I found interesting. So I was trying to process that and then thinking like, well, if there's class differences between generations, it's because we're experiencing the economy a lot different. You bring up financial crises. How many of those have we experienced in our young lives and up until now by comparison to our, no offense, friends, Gen X, old Gen Xers and boomer
Mhm.
counterparts, you know? Like, so if there's economic differences to be had, yeah,
Mhm.
our generation is in a different financial place than the economic environment that boomers, again, love you all, got to take advantage of, right? Totally different. Totally different economic situation.
I mean, it's not feasible that you know a single family income these days is going to be able, with like a family of four with one income is going to be able to afford, especially if the parents are in their, let's say, 20s, very
Right.
early 30s, that they're going to be able to just go out and get whatever house they want. That's really not a feasible thing. And for the boomers or their parents, I mean, yeah, that was part of the GI Bill, but it's gotten harder and harder. Costs have kept going up, wages have not matched it. So, that's becoming less and less of a quote unquote American dream, or just less of a reality for people. That is becoming a dream for more people. And so I think too that influences how, for example, millennials or Gen Z and all the generations coming after us
Mhm.
are going to look at things like going to college or just, the next steps after and what like adulthood looks like in your
Totally.
formative years, your young adult, your
Your young
young
adult
adult
years.
years.
Young adult years. I know. Brady knows this of me very specially and particularly, but I'm particularly spicy about the housing market, the housing economics right now,
Mhm.
and the Fed's quote unquote strategy to combat inflation. Which, yeah, we're air quoting for those of you only listening. Strategy. I like to say that Jerome Powell is a swear word in my household. So, you know, and if you don't know who Jerome Powell is, Google it, friends. He's the chair of the Federal Reserve. Um,
Who's buying houses? They don't have to though. That's the
right,
state of things. People,
right, right.
not enough.
People setting monetary policy
Yeah.
for people who are trying to achieve the said quote unquote, as you say, American dream. Pull yourself up by your very, very leathery, hard bootstraps. Suck it up.
Mhm.
Just make enough money. It's not the reality that they grew up in. It's a reality we have been living. Um, I love the memes. So speaking of like technology and social media, I love the memes that are like, "Yep, as long as I don't buy those, as long as I don't buy 10 Starbucks coffees in a month, you're right. I will for sure have enough for a down payment on that house." Come on. It's it has to be funny because otherwise it'll just like turn you into like a snarking lot rage, you know?
Correct. You have to laugh at the misery
You have to laugh at
of
the
it.
misery. You have to laugh at the misery. Do you read those? Have you seen those headlines lately? There's been a lot of headlines about the you need a at least a six-figure income to afford buying a house in America right now, blah blah blah.
I saw, and there was an article recently that went viral on Twitter. Fuck you, Elon. Um, that was about the headline was something like millennials are splurging on groceries or something like that. It was something about millennials are splurging or millennials, what are they spending on groceries or food, whatever it was. And it was literally not about us going to five-star restaurants or anything like that. No, it was literally about like the fact that the breakdown is about we're spending the most money on food. So we're splurging on, the thing you need to sustain
To
yourself.
live, we're
This
splurging
like
on living. Huh,
this is the way it's being framed because they can't be like, well, they can't afford shit, so they're not
right,
contributing to the economy as much. You got to frame it as, well, they're splurging on
right.
food. And it's like, yeah, well, I guess we're gonna splurge on feeding ourselves because we can't splurge on putting a nice house over our heads.
Splurge. Thank
It
you
is
for
insane.
bringing that
Yes,
up.
the cost of living and just the inflation of everything
Yeah.
for there's no point to it. It's all BS and it's everywhere. Like, I mean, there is no, everyone's like, oh, you should just live in the Midwest or stay here. It's cheap. And I'm like, no place is cheap. No place. There are places that are worse than others, of course, but I'm like, everywhere is getting bad. It is becoming unsustainable for anybody.
Yes.
So,
Totally.
yes.
Yes. Okay, so splurging on groceries. Thank you for bringing that up. That's enraging. That's a perfect thing to park in the snarking lot. Here, I'm gonna snark it out right now. So, in
Snark
my
it.
life, in my life, I've heard people criticize people who are lower income, perhaps working class. Like, if you're struggling financially, why are you buying cigarettes? Why are you buying booze? Why are you, right? So I find myself, my past self, be like, yeah, right. Don't save your money. You know what I mean? Ridiculous. But then current me, who's way spicier, a lot more life experience under my belt, is like, who are we to say someone who is living in these economic circumstances probably can't afford the health care to quit drinking if they wanted to? Again, I'm making up hypothetical people here, but I think, Brittany, you get my point because we've said versions of this. Hey, who are we to judge your therapy? What
Well,
might be
that's
part of your therapy? I'm not saying it is your therapy 100%, but you get what I'm saying? Like, there's no like, what, so that you can't have any vices when you're
well,
battling these economic circumstances? That's crazy.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Lots of different things give people dopamine rushes or are addictive by nature. It's not just those things, but
Yeah.
it's like, okay, yeah, they can't afford all these other things. So this is the one thing they're chasing after to get a little bit of a high because the rest of life is absolutely shitacular.
It's a dumpster fire.
And
Oh, where's our little dumpster fire emoji?
it's floating down the river as the oceans rise. It's just that dumpster is getting higher and higher. Like it's coming over the
Right?
wave of the next category 5 that hits one of the coasts. There comes the dumpster on fire. Yeah,
Floating.
and it's the same concept. Like, well, if they didn't spend the money on that stuff, they could save up. And it's like,
Right.
what? Still be denied a loan for a more, to get a house, still be
Mm-hmm.
denied for their mortgage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kidding.
I want to be perfectly fair in my opinion. I want to like contextualize my opinion that I do think that you in this environment you need to take due care with your finances. Like I'm not saying just
Yes.
like be reckless with your finances by any
Yes.
means. Like of course you need to reel it in and you still need to work hard, you need to do all the things and ah da 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 da. But like there's something to be said for who are you to judge? Because the people who typically say that are people who don't have to worry about economic circumstances changing in big fluctuating ways. You know?
And if they did, they wouldn't know what to do. And that term financial literacy gets thrown around, and I'm teeing
Yeah.
you right up. Said, um, it's thrown around, like we have to teach these people how to, you know, be more financially literate. You have to teach them how to manage their finances. And it's like, no, I would argue a lot of them actually probably know how to do it a lot better than people who've never had to worry about it, because a lot of those people
Hmm,
can tell you what the cost
that's a good
of
point.
things is. They know exactly the cost benefit analysis of, if I do this, will I be able to afford this? Or if I take care
Good
of
point.
this problem here, I could let this one get a little bit bigger, or I could get a drink or cigarettes and still make this payment, or whatever. They oftentimes, the people struggling actually are very well aware of their finances or what things do or how to survive financially. They just
Great
don't
point.
have the means to be able to do more of it or the opportunity. But if they had it,
It's a great point.
wage, they'd be able to do it. Whereas other people who have never had to worry about it or don't currently have to worry about it have not paid attention to rising costs or just any costs, even if they were lower, have never had to worry about that or wouldn't have a clue. Again, it gets back to, I know the thing where everyone's like, okay, boomer, but people who maybe have, which is great, they've had their house for many years, like
Yeah.
they've not looked at the housing market. And I see these things online all the time where, people get in the comments that they're sniping at each other, but then you have some of the younger generations trying to explain, or you have some people on there maybe saying, my house cost $50,000 back in the day. And then people are like, yeah, well, that was whatever year extrapolated to now what that buying power is. And like that now the house is like try 400,000 or 500,000 for what you would do.
Oh,
Like that's
absolutely.
at
Yeah.
least, if not more,
At
depending
least.
on, a whole host of factors. But it's like, yeah, cool. You bought your house for 50,000, several decades ago, which is great. Good for you. But like
Love
that's
it. I'm happy
that's
for
not the
you,
case.
legitimately. You know?
Yes. Like that's great, but it's like realize the problem now is that there's a lot of factors that have, again, cost and wage have diverted. So
There's a big cavern there.
yeah, there's a big cavern, as big as where my soul should be, a big void. Your
Oh, the soul void came up again. Look at that.
soul void.
Soul
Soul
void.
Void, great band name.
Soul void.
So God.
I do this mostly just to get your reaction
I
because
can
this
see it
makes
coming
me
on the
good.
screen. Like I can watch it about to happen. It's like an accident I can just watch happen here, but it's just oh
Car
man.
crash.
There's a big snark crash in the snarking lot. My God. Uh, yes. As big a void, and the difference in the two lines, as big a void as where both of our souls should be, and maybe half the ones of our listeners. Who knows? Who am I to judge?
Yes. We're growing
Probably
the
if you,
base. We gotta see where the audience lands, but maybe.
I mean, if you're listening to this, I assume,
I assume.
right or wrong, but yeah,
Well,
I
Brittany,
think that there's definitely, if you're not in it, and I just want to go to the people too who are like, what are you complaining about? Back in my day, it was easy to get whatever. And
right.
it's like, also,
Yeah.
if everybody's is having an issue, like having an issue and talking about it, perhaps that means it's an issue.
Yes.
If tons of people are
Yes.
saying, I can pay rent astronomically high, but yet I cannot get approved for a mortgage.
What's wrong there? Like, is there a systemic issue? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because I don't know how much harder you can work or how many more bootstraps you can, pull yourself up by where that magically
Oh,
changes. Like at some point, I don't think, like a marionette doll, at some point, I don't think that's on maybe the people trying to want to have the house or want to have whatever. some kind of better vehicle, whatever you're trying to have in your life. At some point, I don't think it's on them if they've tried. It would seem they're hitting a brick wall. They're hitting a, concrete slab. It would seem something is preventing that across the board systemically.
Concrete slab where a basement should be, because digging a basement for
Yes.
a house is expensive. Sorry, that was just a quick diversion.
Yes.
Couldn't help it.
Yes. Yes. It's just still land because no one's building there.
No
Nobody.
one's building there. Brittany, I feel confident that we have given people a jolt into the true snarking lot with this episode. Last episode, we were like, "Hey, who are we? Ha ha ha, we're funny." I feel like we hit some really, I think we were more snarking lot analysts this time.
We're finding our snark groove.
We're
God, lean in. Just do it.
snark groove. I don't know
The
what it is with
apex of
you and
this
that, but
podcast is the apex of this podcast is if we can get people to like time it who are listening, who just know it's coming and just say it right when you do. Then we'll know we've
we'll
made
hit
it.
that cadence eventually,
We
I'm
will.
confident.
We will.
Some people have asked me how many episodes we have planned out, and I'm like, oh, probably at least 12. Like the content for at least 12, and I think we've probably like probably bookmarked at least 4 or 5 more.
We have at least one for every horoscope and then some. So
We do. We
that'll be a
do.
marketing ploy because everybody does that shit. Like, which dog are you? If your
Uh,
horoscope was a dog, if your horoscope was I said the other one was a national park, what would it be?
Okay.
Mine's totally wrong. Um, no. So yeah, well, we could eventually have some marketing where it could be memes of here, which episode is your horoscope? Yeah, we have a lot planned out. We have
We
quite the
do.
roadmap. We have a lot of parking stalls. We have a lot of stalls mapped out in this lot, this
Oh, a lot
snarking
of
lot.
stalls. Mm-hmm. There are parking stall labeled a lot of different things in this lot for people to like cruise into
We do.
and
No
idle
meters.
at.
You can stay as long as you want.
Should we hit our round robin? Are we at that point? Should we do a round robin? You ready?
I think so.
Are you ready? All right. Well, let's start with what are you reading? Are you still reading the same thing as last time? You started something else.
I'm still reading it. I'm
You're
kind
still
of
reading
reading
it. Okay.
of things, but we'll call it that. So,
Okay.
Book on Guilty of Journalism by Kevin Gostola.
Very
For
good.
anybody.
I also am still reading Medicare for All the Citizens Guide and Amazon swearing at Bezos. Um, didn't send my End Medical Debt book on time, so I haven't started that like I thought I was going to by the time this episode was recorded, but whatever. It'll be shipped soon. So that I get my nice spicy healthcare reading bundle all done all at one same time. So yeah, still in the same book. All right. Goals. Goals for last time. I think your goal was to get through the week last time. How'd that
The
go?
bar is on the ground. The bar is on the ground, folks.
Bar is literally probably buried in the ground.
It could be 6 feet under. We don't know.
Yeah.
It's really impossible for limbo at this point.
How'd you do with that goal? Did you get through the week?
I'm here. So yep.
I mean, I know
I
you're
did.
here, but like, are you here?
Is it my sentient being? No, this is me.
Yeah, it's you.
This is me. Yeah.
AI. You didn't send AI you to come meet with me this evening?
Well, funny enough, there's going to be a breaking announcement for sponsorship later. But no, it's just me. I
It's
don't know what
you.
side of me, what personality side of this
Okay.
Gemini's coming out, but yes.
Okay.
Made it through.
Made it through.
How about
Do you have
you?
another goal
Oh.
for next time?
I just do the Uno reverse and just do the same thing. I guess a repeat. It's not really an Uno reverse. That would be not making it through the week.
That would be not making it through the week, which I want to make sure that you
Well, just importantly,
not do.
really tanks this fledgling podcast, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of ruins the whole thing. So you might want
We're
to be
down.
careful
We're down to
about
one
that.
parking. We're down to one snarking lot parking attendant enforcer here. If I
Nobody
go, so
wants to listen to me just talk. So, dear God.
oh, probably. I think so.
No, I don't
I
think
think.
so at all. What's so you'll
I
repeat.
think
I said I was gonna run a couple times. I did not, but I for sure am tomorrow. because I'm
Go.
off. I'm gonna sleep in a little bit and then I'm gonna go for a nice refreshing run. So that is happening for sure tomorrow. I failed, but I'm going to rectify it tomorrow morning.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, I think my goal will be trying to get outside for some fresh air on that note, like some walks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll start small. We'll do baby yeah, the bar is coming up, approaching ground level, so we'll do that. Trying to get out like after I eat dinner or something
Good.
like that. Now that the weather is also a little bit better, getting out, lowering that blood sugar, getting everything back in. Try to get out and get some fresh air. 'Cause much like yoga and all those other things, like once I do it, I'm like, why don't I do this more often? I've never felt worse after it. I mean, yeah, I
Hmm.
run, okay, fine, but I'm like, no, like just walking. I have a little rectangle in the neighborhood. I
Yeah.
go. Usually I can find that I walk at dog walk o'clock as well. It's like the last call for everybody walking their dogs before they let them all urinate before they go to bed. So I'm like, yes.
Nice.
Get to check out. I have no interest in the people, but yes, I
Yes.
recognize that dog. I kind of know what block they live on. Hell
Yes. Yes. All right. We warn people we would swear. It's the dumbest shit you've seen in the news since we last talked.
yeah. All right, I'm not going to say that we're splurging on food because I already said that.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, um, I would say, depending how spicy you want to get, I'll just keep it kind of brief, and I will say the absence of those free speech absolutists when it comes to people protesting genocide, especially on college campuses all over the world, but they don't purposely don't show that in a lot of the mainstream news here. It's been,
Ooh.
yeah, you can do an ASMR for that. Spicy. Uh
Ooh. And that, my friends, is why it's called the snarking lot.
so yeah,
Yeah. I hear you.
I would say that watching that and just going, my God. All right, boomers, we all remember Kent State. They don't, people got to learn, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just been kind of watching the really,
Yeah.
really. I mean, I guess too, TikTok ban, pick your poison. There's so many things.
There's so many. There
A
is a
lot of
lot.
people were bringing not they were forgetting their logic at home for the dumb fight. So what about you, Cassie? What's the
So
dumbest shit?
apparently, I do not take this portion of the segment very seriously at all because the headline that drew me in the most was Chicago's rat hole is removed after the city determined the sidewalk was damaged. Do you know about the Chicago rat hole? Have you seen it prior to me saying this?
Maybe I just didn't know it was called that.
Like there was like a hole in a concrete sidewalk that everyone thought was shaped like a rat, like that a rat laid in concrete and made like like you know what I mean? And then some influencer, comedian influencer dude like took a TikTok with it or something like a while back, and then it became like this viral sensation. So everyone was like crowding around, like taking pictures with the rat hole. Okay.
It 100%. So I just looked it up. It 100% looks 100% some rat fell in that hole. Like
It
some rat
totally
fell in some
looks like
wet
a rat
cement.
fell in there. But apparently
It
now,
is.
like the city's removing it, and then there's also debate. People are being like, it's not a rat, it's a squirrel. So there's like a debate between whether or not it's a freaking rat hole or a squirrel hole.
Well, what color is the dress? This is the what color is the dress of 2024.
Thank
I
you.
think it's a
I
rat. Just that's my
I
vote.
think it's a
My vote
rat.
is
I
it's
think
a
it's
rat.
clearly, I think the tail says it's a rat, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless you have unless that squirrel got sugared or waxed, it is a rat. It is a rat, 100%. I don't.
100% a
People need to
rat.
go watch Zamuba and Kratz Creatures if they don't know that. That is a callback as well. Millennials, hell yeah. Well, no, I think yours is very good because it leads into like, and again, everything is lots of things are terrible in the world. So find something less awful to kind of fixate on. I'm kind of torn on that. Like at one point, you kind of need something to laugh at or just focus on where it's not quite as terrible. But also at the same time, like that, of all the things in the world going on,
Yeah,
folks, this is what we
folks,
truly are divided. This is what everyone's like, no, no, I gotta focus
folks,
on this.
right? I know. Hey,
Maybe for a
as
future episode, we should have the rat on. if we can track the rat down.
I think we should try to track the rat down.
We should. Ratatouille. We're gonna nail it. It's fine.
Ratatouille, baby. Yes, I love it.
If we
This
can't, we just get Patton Oswalt since he voiced it in the movie.
Patton. Ugh, I know. My goodness. Wouldn't that be amazing?
We're one sponsorship away.
We
I mean,
are. I'm so
we only don't have any, so we're one sponsorship away from having a sponsorship and then trying to get Patton.
2 degrees of separation from Patton Oswalt. Is that what you're saying we are?
I'm saying suck it, Kevin Bacon.
Nice. Excellent.
Suck on
Excellent.
that. Suck on that sausage, Mr. Bacon. I don't know.
Hey.
Suck on that
Love
rat
it.
sausage.
Well, we were trying to understand, honestly, like this quick affinity to the snarking lot. We completely, quite frankly, don't quite all the way get it, but we love it. So, hey,
The
you
lot is
got to
off
get
the
through the
rail.
day somehow. And if we're bringing you joy, that's part of what we're here to do.
Correct. If this lot was a train, it would be off the rails, but it's fine. We're keeping true to the plot of our former video chats because it just really, yeah, it's winding. It is like a rat tunnel, I think, maybe.
I think it
It is
is.
winding
The
like a
only thing
mul
about this is that I think I at least put my hair in a better, more put together ponytail for this than I do our video chats. You've seen my hair in a lot of really freaky deaky states for our video chats.
well, you could have the butt braid again. Your hair is so long.
It's
So
true. I'm gonna refer to it as the butt braid forever. I just made that up tonight, and it's never
it's
gonna go away now.
trademarked.
Hmm. Yeah.
Herbal
Shout out to
essences
my
needs to
late grandma who did it for me, you know? It was a great
shout,
French braid.
shout out to birthday. It was I remember when you would have it in school, like you would always have some sort of braid, especially for like game days or like as the other
Yeah.
days like nice, like you would do the long curls and whatever and some days, but then it was like, oh no, she has like the elaborate braid or the elaborate kind of braid and ponytail today, and I was always like, man, I wish. It was
No, you don't.
impressive. Yes, it was impressive. It was like a rope.
I whipped people in the face during elementary school basketball with my hair.
As you
It's part of my
should.
weapon as a point guard.
Yeah, well, they're not ready for this jelly. Get out of the way.
Yeah. You ready for this? French braid. French braid.
On the basketball theme from millennials, Space Jam.
Right. Space Jam.
Remake sucked. I'm saying it. Space Jam. That's all you need to know from millennials, man.
Brittany, we gotta put this in the Snark parking lot for another day, talking about my favorite NBA basketball player of all time no longer being able to be my favorite NBA basketball player of all time.
Okay.
And I'll explain that to you and our listeners another day.
Ooh. Ooh.
Do you know? Like, don't say it, but do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay.
Fairly certain I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. He's very disappointing.
Well, sore. I mean, unfortunately, sore. A lot of people don't have heroes. This is essentially the moral of the story.
Yeah, that's another thing we were discussing is like, yeah, putting names on buildings and having heroes, might want to just put those names away just in case things happen, things go sideways. Right?
Wait like a couple hundred years, then you can bust it out of the trading card deck, and then you can name
Yeah.
them that. Because like some people with money are pretty awful, or just some pretty hellacious things, and then you're like, ooh, ooh. So yeah, well, I like that. I like that cliffhanger. Like
You
that.
like that cliffhanger? We're doing a little
That,
tease. Doing a
like
little
that
teasey
pause
tease.
before the alley oop. I like that. Just setting up
Pause
for another
before the
episode.
alley-oop. Okay,
It's that
couple quick
point. It's
updates.
that point in Space Jam where they don't know if Jordan's arm is going to extend long enough to make the basket. I probably just spoiled it for any unfortunate Gen Xers, Gen X. Why do I keep saying Gen X? Gen Zers who haven't seen it yet.
Okay, why am I blanking? This is how I know I'm getting old. What's the basketball movie with the dog?
Airbud?
Airbud.
Hell yeah.
There's another one. That's a whole basketball episode. involving like Airbud and Space Jam.
Because Airbud like branched out. He has a conglomerate with like football, he's a football one. Like
I
they're all
know. I know. I loved Airbud and Space
there's
Jam. It
101 Dalmatians and there's 101 fucking sports Airbud does. Like it
this is
just
true.
insane.
This is true. Airbud was very talented.
I mean, ESPN top athlete of all time. Come on.
Yeah, obviously.
Like to see
Brittany, we don't have this 100% solidified, but I'm going to do a couple quick teases. We promised that in future episodes we would have guests for different
Yep.
topics, and I have, extended verbal offers to maybe a sprinkling of 3 or 4 people to say, "Hey, would you be possibly interested in coming on at some point for a topic kind of related to this?" And they're like, "Sure." So, we're excited to have them on soon.
Yes.
Very, very soon. It'll be a mix of people who can provide some insight on us, so they can tell a little bit of stories about us from a different perspective, but also bring some very nice analytical insights on different topics. So it's very exciting times here at the
Everybody
Snarking Lab.
listen to other people and not just our voices.
Hmm.
Branching out here.
Yes, exactly. We're really going all out.
Ugh.
Brittany, you love my microphone. Don't lie. It's just like you try to deny hugs. You love hugs for me. You just don't want to admit it. Like you love the microphone. You just don't want to admit it.
There's nothing wrong with the microphone. It's amazing when I can just watch it. I can watch the prelude. It just, yep, the lean in. I can know what's coming here.
Prelude.
It's also just on the most random words or phrases.
It
But
is,
I like it.
yeah.
It's keeping the audio audience on their toes because they don't know when it's
Don't
like
know.
Cassie's right there whispering in their ear to reiterate a point. Like you're bolding the words or the phrase.
All right. Well, as usual, delightful to see you, my best friend.
It's delightful to see you as well.
We are
I hope
very happy to have our growing base of snarkers in our corner. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, snarkers. Brittany, I'm wishing you a great evening. We will be talking soon on and off the podcast, but do you want to give everyone your best life advice as we part ways?
I wish everyone the best. I hope this fed you with some life-giving words and nice life-giving hour here. And as always, remember, always bring logic to a dumb fight.
See you soon, snarkers.
Bye.
Bye.